Yeah.
You want to like him, but you can't.
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Did you bring me on this show to insult me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't want it with us, man. We straight gangsters over here,
Straight
man.
gangsters. Yeah, good morning. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning. We are Scout Team Sports, bringing it to you hot and live like we do each and every weekday, 6 a.m., Monday through Friday on 12-ounce Sports Radio. I am one of your gracious hosts. They call me Loudbeard.
You are the most egotistical, self-deluded person I have ever met.
And all of that is true. And the man on the other microphone, he is one of the greatest patriots I have ever met. He is more patriotic than SpaghettiOs. America. Yeah, it's your boy Chris America coming to you live here on Scout Team Sports. Hey guys, it's me, Chris America, coming hot.
It's your boy Chris America coming to you live this January 15th, Patrick Mahomes Day, because the greatest quarterback to ever wear the jersey, number 15, is, of course, Patrick Mahomes. Happy Patrick Mahomes Day, fellas.
Well, happy Patrick Mahomes Day there, Chris America. It is a beautiful day to be a Patrick Mahomes fan, especially if you're the head of the fan club, because he is having himself one of the best years of his life. And you know what? I thought that he would come back down to earth at some point, but he has been impressive from day one, and that performance in the playoffs, super impressive. I have to bow down to Patrick Mahomes and say, great job out there, Mahomes, and I'm glad that I know the number one fan of Patrick Mahomes, and that would be you, Chris America. And
Yes,
I think
that
I
would be
hear
me if
something
I
in
can
the
ever get
background.
my-
Do you hear? Is that you, Golden Ghost? Are you joining us?
Nope, that's not him.
Oh, that's not him, huh?
That's me testing something out, because we also have to bow down to another greatness, Loudbeard, this morning. We didn't cover it yesterday, and we should have. Even Ian Sports Take says we should have covered it, but we went all NFL football heavy. When it's playoff football, it's tough to talk about anything else, right?
It is. That was Mondays are for football. Recapping the weekend, recapping the playoffs.
But we need to go back, and we need to celebrate this greatness. Yeah, that's right. The Orlando Magic, they didn't just beat the Celtics, they beat the Rockets. Big-time wins for the Orlando Magic. They were spiraling out of control. They were on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. Everyone in Orlando was in despair again for the 7th year in a row. And then, guess what, Loudbeard?
What was that?
Some magic happened, man. Some fourth quarter
magic left, huh?
Some fourth quarter magic came. The clock did not strike midnight on our Orlando Magic. We did not turn into pumpkins yet. We're still in the playoff hunt, Loudbeard, and I'm excited for it because Orlando Sports Town is a great sports town, especially when the Magic are in the playoffs.
No, I 100% agree with you, Chris America, and I like where you're going with this. We're going to lead in with some NBA today because you know what? We have not talked enough about the NBA, and we went all in on NFL yesterday. So I'm going to start us out because you said the Magic beat the Rockets. Well, James Harden, when in that loss to the Orlando Magic, because obviously beating the Magic would be an incredible feat for the Rockets. But in that loss, James Harden scored over 30 points. But
38.
He played again he played again last night, and he scores 57 against the Grizzlies.
That's that
that
Orlando
would mean,
Magic stifling defense, holding them down. He would have scored 57 on any other team but the Magic.
He would have. And then the Grizzlies, they allow Harden to score 57. He drops that easily, and that is his 17th game in a row with 30 points or more in a Rockets win 112-94. But the record for most consecutive games in a row was 16, set by Kobe Bryant. So James Harden officially takes the lead in the category of most consecutive 30-point games in a row, and he's doing it all by himself. The Houston Rockets have been bit by that injury bug. Clint Capella, their amazing center, young, just dynamic, great defender. He goes out with a thumb injury, will be out 4 to 6 weeks. Eric Gordon doesn't play. Chris Paul doesn't play. We've got injuries all over the place. James Harden carries his team on his back, 57 points. Just unbelievable what James Harden is doing. He's taken his MVP season from last year, and he is making it even better this year, and he's doing it with no help. And the Rockets are still winning. Now, they did run into the buzzsaw on Sunday. The Orlando Magic buzzsaw.
The Orlando Magic buzzsaw, man. The Orlando Magic were flailing. You know, leaks were coming on all ends. The boat was sinking. And then they beat the Celtics in a dramatic win. And then they beat the Rockets, even with Harden's 38 points. Now, they were assisted by the fact that Harden was 1 for 17 that night. And he tied for the most missed 3-point shots. But that's okay. But I want to credit some of that on the Orlando's 3-point defense and throwing him off and everything. But you're right. He bounced back. He played well last night against the Grizzlies. And you know what I can't stand about today's sports world, Loudbeard?
What is that?
We've been so spoiled by Nick Saban, LeBron James, the Warriors, Bill Belichick, and Tom Brady that we think in order to be great, you have to win like 15 championships in your career. You're just no good. And I feel like we're missing out on so many good careers of NBA, NFL, baseball players that aren't winning championships. And we're just ruining it by saying, oh, well, yeah, Harden can score 57 against the Grizzlies in the regular season, but he's not that good because he disappears in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's a great point. And as of right now in James Harden's career, because he could still win a championship.
Oh, yeah,
he could still get there. But if you compare him to somebody like Karl Malone, who was such a dominant force, such a great offensive weapon, I would say that would be pretty comparable. And Karl Malone is thought to be probably the best player of all time that had not won a championship. And to me, that would be good company to keep. But you're right. We always put a little asterisk next to the name of somebody that doesn't win a championship. Charles Barkley, great player, never won a championship. Karl Malone, great player, never won a championship. I'm sorry, but Karl Malone, if he was not in the Michael Jordan era, would have won several championships. His Utah Jazz were there with Michael Jordan, toe-to-toe, giving him a fight for his life at Michael Jordan's peak, the greatest player of all time's peak Michael Jordan had a cast of players around him that were, when he was playing the Jazz, it was the Rodman and Steve Kerr and, Scottie Pippen, obviously. That was one of the best teams of all time. And Karl Malone took the Utah Jazz with John Stockton and went toe-to-toe with them. But Karl Malone will always have that asterisk, never won a championship. And you're right. We take away players from what a team accomplishment was, and we disregard some of their individual accomplishments because of that.
Yeah, the 90s was riddled with guys like that. Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Dan Marino going on the football side. And we still appreciated them. We said, man, it really sucks that they didn't win a title, but we're not going to sit here and say they're not good or they're not great or they're not Hall of Famers. They were good. They were great. They are Hall of Famers. It's just we understood in that time period that, hey, man, you can't win them all. There's only one championship you can give out every year, and sometimes while your great is great, there's the greatest ever, or there's a top 3 all-time player in your league right now, and it's tough to get it done. Or there's a top 3 all-time team in your league right now, and it's just impossible to get it done. Nobody can beat this team because they're one of the best teams of all time. And that's what we have right now with basically Bill Belichick these last 20 years with the Patriots, and we have with, the Warriors and LeBron James on the East side. So it's just, why can't we just appreciate the players for what they are? I saw a tweet that said, oh, yeah, he's good, but Harden disappears in the playoffs. Harden posted the same exact numbers against the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals that LeBron James did when LeBron James got swept. Yet somehow LeBron is still great, and Harden is just a guy that can't get it done.
Yeah, I'm hoping that Harden ends up finishing his career and has a little bit more success in the playoffs, so that'll get wiped away. LeBron got criticized early in his career for not having that playoff success. And, I think that's it's human nature. And again, with social media, I always bring it up. You get the trolls. The trolls like to jump on everybody, and that's what's going to happen. But James Harden, when you look at the regular season and what he has done, he's a phenomenal player, and you got to give him credit. And I hate seeing all the haters out there. I feel like that's what we do, is we will look for reasons to hate instead of just appreciating the greatness that is happening right now. Instead of saying, oh my gosh, James Harden is having an incredible season on top of an MVP season last year where he averaged a triple-double, or not averaged a triple-double, but that was Westbrook the year before. But he had one of the best seasons we've seen in a long time. And then all of a sudden you go this season and you're like, well, he's doing it again, and he doesn't have the supporting cast around him. Let's just appreciate this moment. Let's appreciate what we are doing, what we're seeing in front of us today. And that's where, as fans, we kind of take that step back sometimes, and we get in our own way when we start trying to overthink and overanalyze these things. Just enjoy it for what it is. That's what I'm saying.
Right now, I feel like the NBA is very deep in talented superstars. Like, there's a lot of fun guys to watch around the league, and we're too busy discrediting all of it because they can't beat the Warriors.
Yeah, and I guess it'll have to get to the point where somebody's going to have to beat the Warriors.
And I think that's going to be a fun time, too. I think that's going to be another great thing is when we finally see the Warriors lose. It's kind of like we saw earlier this month when the Alabama Crimson Tide got blown out. Like, other than Crimson Tide fans and some SEC fans, the whole country loved seeing the downfall. And last year in the Super Bowl, what did we love seeing? We loved seeing the downfall of the Patriots. We liked seeing that new team come out and go toe-to-toe with the Patriots. Now, I also thought about this, Loudbeard. You mentioned about how success makes people hate you and stuff. I thought about that about Tom Brady and Drew Brees. I felt like if Drew Brees and Tom Brady flipped careers, I feel like we would be hating on Drew Brees right now and wanting the Saints to lose, and we'd bring up how they had Bountygate and what a bunch of cheaters they are. But this Tom Brady guy, he's got his one Super Bowl, and he's always done things the right way, like taking less money and always, working hard at his craft and obsessing over being great. And we want to see him win one more Super Bowl. So it is just weird how when a team we like people to be good, but if you're not my team, I don't want you to be great.
Yeah, that's so the truth. Now, you bring up Manning and Breeze. You bring up Brady and Breeze, and I'm thinking of Peyton Manning. If Peyton Manning, who struggled in the playoffs, kind of like James Harden will say, had a couple losses, had trouble getting over that hump, I think that almost endeared him more to fans. Peyton Manning was a very well-liked guy. If he had won 4 Super Bowls and was dominant, I think people would have been over him. And I think that's what happened with Tom Brady. And I do think there's a little bit of an arrogance with the Patriots, and that might be because of the residue of the fans. And that's the same thing that happened with Alabama. It's the fans say, oh, my poop doesn't stink. Sorry, I had to edit that for morning show.
Yeah.
And you sit there and say, you know what? Okay, you think you're the best. I get it. You have a good team. Okay, I'm tired of hearing you say that you're better than everybody else. And then you get to that point where you're like, okay, I don't want to hear it. Where when you see guys that have flaws, a guy like Peyton Manning who struggled to win multiple Super Bowls when you could see that he was one of the best players in the league. A guy like Drew Brees. Drew Brees has had a great career. He's had so many 5,000-yard passing seasons, but he's had some struggles. They've had some seasons where they've had 5, 6, 7 wins, and they can't make it to the playoffs. And you look at that and you think, wow, this guy, he's been through the ups and downs. And, I think when we get to that point where now it's been so long since he won a Super Bowl, 2006, that we're like, okay, it's been 10, 12 years, and he's been so good in the league. We were cheering for this guy because we'd rather see him win than Tom Brady. Oh, he's got too many rings to put on the one hand or whatever, logic that we're getting into at this point. We don't want to see the same winners. We want to see different winners, and that's where we're at.
Yeah, and I think we're going to watch a shift because I remember when the Warriors were a likable team, especially with their first run at the title. everybody loved Steph Curry. He was a lovable guy. Klay Thompson, they were the Splash Brothers. We celebrated the Warriors, and now that they've rattled off 4 in a row and they've got KD, and he's kind of, I mean, I get why he's a little unlikable, but even before then, we kind of started hating the Warriors because of their success. And I think it's funny that it's really just jealousy and envy on our part more than it is anything that the teams or players are doing wrong, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And, I think of another dominant franchise like the Orlando Magic, and I'm going to segue.
Yes.
The Orlando Magic, we talked about them being the buzzsaw that the Rockets could not get past.
Right.
Because they are a dominant franchise. They're looking at this playoff push. They're thinking, okay, we're still in this, in the East, in the bottom half of the playoff brackets for the East. It's very, very doable, right? So we need to retool. We need to get better. So the Dallas Mavericks have had the fortune of drafting a point guard last season, Dennis Smith Jr., who had a great rookie year and a pretty good sophomore year, but then they went and drafted Luka Doncic, who is having the best year out of any rookie, in my opinion, and now has become the main ball handler on this team. And Dennis Smith has kind of taken a little bit of a sidestep. Well, now the Mavericks are saying, well, maybe we could get some value for trading Dennis Smith Jr. So the two teams that have been said to have been in discussions with the Dallas Mavericks for Dennis Smith Jr., one is our Orlando Magic, and the other is the Phoenix Suns. So the Orlando Magic, they're looking to retool a little bit. They're looking to maybe add a little firepower to this squad so they can get even better, so they can really make a strong playoff push. I love this. I thought they should have drafted Dennis Smith Jr. last season instead of Jonathan Isaac. The Isaac pick has not panned out for the Magic as of yet. He's had a lot of injuries. He's very young. He's very raw. He hasn't developed the way the Magic have thought. And Dennis Smith Jr. has been a better player on the court. And now the Magic are trying to fix that mistake of not drafting Dennis Smith Jr. last season and go out and get him. Do you like this idea of the Orlando Magic finally getting a little aggressive and trying to get some added help here for this team?
Yeah, the Magic need to do something. And they've needed to do something the last 5 or 6 seasons that is big. I mean, we made a huge mistake on the Ibaka trade, sending I have Nick Vucevic on my brain, but Oladipo to Oklahoma City, and we saw how good that worked out. I don't want to see us do that. Our only big trade asset that we have right now is Nick Vucevic. Now, I don't know if the Mavericks want him, and he's been such a lovable guy, an enjoyable, fun guy to watch here with the Orlando Magic. He's stuck with us through all of these really, really, really bad seasons, but at the end of the day, he's not going to be worth what the market demands, at least for the Orlando Magic. He might be worth it to some other team with some cap space, but for the Magic, he's not going to bring $20 to $25 million worth of value a year to the Orlando Magic. And he's been on this team this whole time and has not once we've been able to build a team around him. So I think that's going to be our only trade offer. Do you think just DJ Smith and Vucevic is a good just swap trade?
I mean, I didn't look at the details of this trade. I would say that
I'm just asking personally for you.
Oh, no. Vooch is worth a lot more than Dennis Smith.
That's
Dennis
what I
Smith
would
Jr.
think.
At this
but
point.
he's not Smith Jr. in the first pick, right?
Yeah, and I kind of want to go back and look and see what that trade's looking like. They
right
could
now
be
the Mavericks
involving
are
draft
13th.
picks.
Right now the Mavericks are 13th in the West, so that's got to put them in the top 6-ish. Actually, no, they're probably in the top 10 because the East is just that bad. The Mavericks are 13th in the West with 20 wins, and the Hornets have 20 wins and they're 8th seed in the East.
Yeah, no, the disconnect there, the bottom half of the East is 10 times worse than the bottom half of the West. It's the top half of the East that's finally kind of contending with the top half of the West. I'm just pulling up this trade just to see if it says what the... Yeah, no, it doesn't say who would be offered or any of that. I don't think the Magic would try to give up too much. I think Dennis Smith Jr.'s got some value, but the fact that the Mavericks have found a guy that's replaced him in their lineup, I think that hurts Dennis Smith Jr.'s value. So I think what you're going to end up finding is that the Magic are only going to have to maybe give up a late draft pick and maybe another guy. Maybe they'll have to give up a guy like a Jonathan Isaac, who they drafted last season, and a draft pick. I don't think they're going to have to give up one of their big-time players like Aaron Gordon or Nick Vucevic. So I don't think that that's going to be an issue. What's going to happen is they're looking to get some point guard help. Right now, DJ Augustine's running the point for the Orlando Magic. He has basically been known as being a backup point guard. So the Magic are running with a backup point guard, and then after that, there's just no depth. They need to get a guy in. If Dennis Smith Jr. even backs up DJ Augustine or comes in and starts and Augustine goes to a backup role, they just need some help at point guard. But they're going to keep Vooch. But Vooch, that's a different story altogether and now you're opening up the Pandora's box of getting a little too local, but I'm doing it. Orlando Magic, we love you. Nick Vucevic is on a really team-friendly contract. He signed it 4 years ago. It was like $10 million a year. Nowadays, that's like role player backup money for the NBA, based on the way salaries have been going. So he's on the last year of an expiring contract. It's a super friendly, cheap contract, and he's basically playing the best season of his career. So his value to a team that's contending when you get a little bit closer to that trade deadline, which is less than a month away, for a team that's sitting there at a 4 or 5 seed that needs to kind of get a weapon to try to make a deep run into the playoffs, that would create a lot of value for a team like that, where Vooch could go over to a team and the Magic could get some young players, get some draft picks, and maybe prepare for next season. The problem is do the Magic want to actually make a run at the playoffs and stay contending, and then at the end of the season possibly lose Vooch to another team? Or do they want to maybe gain some value from him now, knowing that if you make the 8th seed in the East, you're probably not going very far? So the Orlando Magic have a tough decision. I like Vooch, and I think he has been the face of the Orlando Magic, and he came over in that Dwight Howard trade and was the best piece of that Dwight Howard trade. But if you look at the future of the Magic, trading him would make some sense, because even at the end of the season, you're probably going to have to pay the guy a lot more than what you were paying him now. So there's a lot of question marks there. So I could easily see the Magic trading him, but getting some future assets or getting some guys that are prospects that are going to pan out and be bigger stars in the future. So I don't know. That's where my Vooch stance is.
Yeah, I mean, you said it was a local thing, but since we're trading him out, this is a national thing. There's a lot of teams out there who are listening that could absolutely use Vooch's skill set. I mean, he's a stretch 4, stretch 5 type player. He can play inside and outside. He's a very good shooter. He's a very good role player. So you want that if you already have a team already built. Now, I don't know which teams out there, what their old roster looks like and everything else, but you're right. At $12 million a year this year, that's one of the best rental deals you can get in the NBA right now. You're not going to go out and get a player with the skill set of Vucevic that he has in a trade and have a rental player like him and only have to pay $12 million. And then you can either try to sign him next year or just let him go, and hopefully he led you to a championship, depending on which team you are. Like, I look at the Houston Rockets. You talked about how injury-laden they are, man. They could use a role player like Vooch, sitting on their bench and coming in and filling in those holes when all these guys are getting injured left and right for that team.
Oh, absolutely. The problem is what the Orlando Magic would want back, so some teams aren't willing to give up that price.
Well, it's kind of Orlando Magic sort of has some leverage, but not all the leverage, because, again, they can say, well, we'll just wait till next year when he's an unrestricted free agent.
Absolutely.
So I don't think they'd get a king's ransom for it, obviously, but I don't think they'd get robbed either. I think Houston or the Dallas Mavericks or maybe even the Los Angeles Lakers could find some sort of deal there for Vooch, a fair trade.
Oh, good thing you brought up the Los Angeles LeBrons. I always like to talk about them.
Well, now they're just the Lakers.
Okay. Yeah, with just being the Lakers, Sunday, they go in and they're playing the Cavs, who are on a 12-game losing streak. So that should be an easy win, right? Nope. Sorry. Cavs come in and they break that losing streak, beat the LA LeBrons without LeBron. 101-95. The Lakers are now, they've lost 5 out of their last 7. This team cannot win without LeBron, and we kind of knew that already, but this just proves to the point that this team does not have the right pieces around LeBron, because a team with a superstar should be able to hang when that superstar goes out injured, at least for a little bit of time, and the Lakers have not shown that at all. The Lakers without LeBron, to me, could be the worst team in the West, and that's not any good. That's not good for the LA, and that's not good for LeBron. So they've got some looking in the mirror to do in LA.
They didn't just lose to Cleveland. They also lost to the New York Knicks all the way back on the 4th. So, I mean, they've got a couple of wins. They beat Detroit, and they beat, who else they beat? They beat Dallas, but then they're coming in, they're losing to New York, and they're losing to, the Cleveland Cavaliers, who are 9-35. Yeah, it's not. I mean, they weren't a playoff team last year, and then you insert LeBron James, and they were kind of hanging around 4th or 5th seed. So the problem is now how far down the rabbit hole do they fall, and can LeBron James lift this team back up and do what it takes to get them back out there? Like, I don't think he can take another 2 or 3 weeks off with this kind of play out there and be able to make the playoffs, a playoff push in the final 2 months. I mean, he's great enough. He's a really great NBA player, and we've seen him do it before, but I don't know, man. What do you think?
I'm going to have to say that, yes, LeBron would be able to push him back into the playoffs, because you just have to getting into the playoffs. There, 8 teams make it out of the West. So you get a good opportunity to make the playoffs, but the seeding matters a lot, because if you hit that 8th seed, and let's just say by the end of the season, Golden State ends up being the number 1 seed, do you want to play Golden State in the first round of the playoffs? Absolutely not. You do not want to face that team in the playoffs. And so for LeBron, it's not just getting into the playoffs. I think you have to get to that 5th or 6th seed just so you play a team that you think you can contend with to get into the second round of the playoffs. Because for LeBron, getting out of the first round of the playoffs is not good enough, right? This man, for what his resume has done and him coming to LA and the hype that's been around it, and honestly the legacy of LA with the Kobe's and the Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and all the great players that have gone through LA over the years, there is not an acceptable first round out for LeBron in LA. So he cannot sit there and get a matchup against one of the tough West teams like the Golden State Warriors. He needs to push this team even harder and higher. The longer he's out, the more they lose, the harder it's going to be to come back into that fold. Now, there's a lot of time, and yes, he can do it, but that's putting a lot of pressure on LeBron. I mean, he's getting up there in age, and he has been playing too many minutes over the last few seasons in Cleveland. There comes to a certain point where injuries happen, rest needs to happen, and he needs to count on his other teammates, and that's the problem, is he's not going to be able to. He's going to have to go out, play 40 minutes a night, and really give everything out on the court every regular season game, and come playoff time, I have a feeling he's going to be pretty wore out, man. I don't see this ending well for LeBron, and, we said it at the beginning of the year, this wasn't a great move for LeBron to go to LA, and we're kind of seeing that now, that the team around him, I mean, maybe the future holds brighter. Maybe they'll bring in another superstar next year, but this year, this is going to be a tough ending for LA, especially with LeBron missing this much time.
Hey, I got a question. Do they reseed in the NBA playoffs?
No, they do not.
Okay. No, I'm saying, like, if the 8th seed beats the 1 seed, do they go and play the 2nd seed the next round, or do they just fall down the bracket?
No, all the seeding stays the same.
No, I know, but but like, you know how like in the March Madness tournament, they don't they don't shift the seeds to play each other. It's just, here's the bracket, you work your way down the bracket. Where in the NFL, if this team wins, then they play the Patriots. If that team wins, then they play the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying?
I believe it's like the NFL.
Okay, so if they get the
if I remember correctly, I think it's like the NFL.
So think about this: if they get the 8th seed, and they have to go against the Denver Nuggets, who's the 1 seed right now. And let's say Denver Nuggets takes them to 6 or 7 games and they survive that series and the Lakers win. Then they got to turn around and play the Golden State Warriors in the second round after playing Denver Nuggets, toe-to-toe for 6 or 7 games. That's a tough slate, and that's a slate that, as great as LeBron James is, he's not used to in his career playing in the Eastern Conference. He's never seen that before.
Yeah. Oh, man, the seeding question, Chris America, is really racking my brain. I'll be honest with you.
But do you get what I'm asking, though?
Yeah, I know what you're asking, and I'm trying to think back of seasons past, and I really can't remember. I'll be honest. I should know this. I'm mad at myself. I should know this.
Well, if you're out there listening right now at Scout Team Sports or at Scout Team Radio on Twitter, please hit us up. We're going to go on a commercial break. Hopefully we'll have an answer to those questions and many more on the other side of the break.
When I'm working hard, I build up a thirst for sports. That's when I grab a cold 12-ounce sports radio. Ah, 12-ounce sports radio. Quench your sports thirst.
Scout Team listeners and friends of the show, I've got something special for you. It looks like 12-ounce sports radio has done it again. We have partnered with Rally House. You just go to the website, 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner on the right side of the page, and it will take you directly to Rally House. Rally House has some of the greatest, most unique sports items for that diehard fan, casual fan, and anybody and everybody out there that is special in your life. So go ahead and check it out. Once again, go to that website, 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner to the right of the page, and you will get taken to the best sports merchandise website on all of the interweb.
Ring Central features all-in-one phone, messaging, and video conferencing. It's easy to use with unparalleled security. Ring Central simplifies things so you can grow. Call Ring Central to speak with a representative about a price for your growing business at 877-779-3860. Again, that's 877-779-3860.
Hey everybody, it's your favorite Patriot, Chris America, and I want you to listen every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and on replays from 11 a.m. to noon of Scout Team Sports. Listen, George Washington did not cross over the ocean blue in 1492 to defeat the Nazis, so you can listen to the same tired national clickbait sports stories. So once again, tune in to us every single morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then we replay from 11 to noon. I will see you there, and God bless America.
All right, good morning. It is another beautiful Tuesday morning, and you are listening to Scout Team Sports. We bring it to you hot and live each and every weekday morning, Monday through Friday at 6 a.m., and replay again at 11 a.m. on 12-Ounce Sports Radio. You can find 12-Ounce Sports Radio at the website, 12ozsportsradio.com, or you can go on to TuneIn. If you download the TuneIn app, you can always catch the 12-Ounce Sports Radio station and listen to all the great shows. We have a lot of great shows out there that we want you to listen to, including our own that is on at 6 a.m. and again at 11 a.m. Also, if you aren't able to always catch the live radio broadcast, I do encourage all of you listeners out there to download the podcast. The podcast, it drops daily on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, anywhere you can find a podcast. You can also catch the podcast at our website, scoutteamradio.com. That's where you can find us. You can find us a little bit of everywhere. Again, we're Monday through Friday. We come live. We bring it to you hot, all the great sports takes. I'm Loudbeard. He's Chris America. We're bringing it to you hot and live each and every day. Also, I do want to mention one last quick little plug here. If you want to get social with us, if you want to get interactive with us, make sure that you hit us up on Twitter. At Scout Team Radio. Hit us up. We will read your tweets on the air. We will talk about your topics. We will discuss what you want to discuss. We are also available on Facebook and Instagram at Scout Team Radio, but Twitter is where you can get interactive. And Chris America, would you say that you like to tweet a lot? Would you say that you like to hear tweets from listeners or see tweets from listeners so that you can talk about those tweets?
I do, and I'm seeing one from a guy named at Tebow's biggest fan. It says, at Scout Team Radio, hashtag LeBron will never win a championship in hashtag LA, I emoji. Thank you, at Tim Tebow's biggest fan. We appreciate you chiming in on the show. I wish that the Golden Ghost was on so he could talk about that a little bit. But at Tebow's biggest fan, thank you so much for tweeting that at us.
That was a nice tweet from him. Longtime listener, I believe.
Yeah.
He's a big fan of the show. That's what we get. We get on Twitter some of our good fans, good listeners, getting to reach out there. Now, Chris America, and you may have some stuff that you want to cover, but I just wanted to do a little impromptu. We're talking NBA, and I get all hyped up with the NBA, but I want to do a little impromptu Who's Your Daddy for you. It'll be quick and easy, I promise. It'll be painless, but I hope you're ready for this. That's what she said. All right, so we're about halfway through the NBA season, give or take a little bit. And when I think about being halfway through the NBA season, what I start thinking about, and this is where we get into that talk radio realm, is we start already awarding guys, MVP and Coach of the Year and all that fun stuff. So I'm going to do a little midway through the season NBA award ceremony with you, and I want you to give me your best Who's Your Daddy. So we talked about him ad nauseum earlier in the show. We talked about James Harden and his greatness. But when you talk about that MVP race, there is another man that needs to be in that discussion, and that is Giannis Antetokounmpo, who is the Greek freak, and he's carried this Milwaukee Bucks team. So if you had a vote today in the MVP of the NBA, Chris America, who's your daddy? Would it be James Harden or Giannis?
Who's your daddy?
Well, we did give lots of love to James Harden, but I like to spread the love. I like to give it around and everything else, and I like to recognize new faces, new names, and I think every league needs to have several superstars in their league. I think you need to push their names a little bit more, and it's not like I'm saying that they should do all this because that's the only reason why he deserves it. Giannis absolutely deserves the MVP because he is the Greek freak. Everything about what he does is amazing. He's a great basketball player, and I hope he stays in Milwaukee. I hope he stays in that market, and we can continue to see Milwaukee grow because Milwaukee's never been a team in my life that's ever done anything to be great. They've made the playoffs here or there, I'm sure. I'm sure they put together some respectable teams, but never in my sports life, I should say. I mean, I was born in 83, but I think pretty much 83 through 91, I don't remember anything about sports. So from 92 to today, the Milwaukee Bucks have done absolutely nothing, and I'd like to see that changed. I like seeing the Brewers do well last year. They were so close to making it to the World Series, and now they got the Bucks that are doing well with the Greek Freak, and they remind me of the Orlando Magic of the North. That's what endears me to them, and I hope to see them do well. So MVP, Giannis, book it.
All right, book them, Dano. All right, next one, Defensive Player of the Year. The Oklahoma City Thunder surprisingly have the best defense in the league, and that defense is being led by a Mr. Paul George. But the MVP of the league, according to you, Giannis, is also posting some of the best defensive numbers in the entire league. And the Utah Jazz have the defending Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert. So Paul George of the Oklahoma City Thunder, Giannis Antetokounmpo from the Milwaukee Bucks, or Rudy Gobert from the Utah Jazz.
Who's your daddy?
Well, Gator legend and college basketball legend Billy Donovan is doing a phenomenal job now there at Oklahoma. He's in his 4th season, I believe. And I really think they finally found their stride with that. And so Paul George has been playing phenomenal under his tutelage. And we already gave Giannis the MVP, so that kind of covers all bases there. So let's give the defensive award to Mr. Paul George under the tutelage of Gator legend Billy Donovan. But sorry, I lost my train of thought because at Coach Mullen is the greatest coach of all time, and I love the Gators. Just tweeted out, he agrees with me. Giannis the Greek Freak. His real name is John Though. Who's your daddy? So he agrees. At Coach Mullen, the greatest coach of all time, just tweeted that to us.
Wow, that's a good Twitter handle.
It is,
and I
kinda
can't
long.
argue with you. I would say right now Paul George deserves Defensive Player of the Year. The Giannis, the James Harden one, that one I'd be a little up in the air. But I'm moving on. We're going Rookie of the Year. We talked about Luka Doncic earlier in the season, or earlier in the show,
God bless
earlier in
you.
the season, with the Dallas Mavericks. He is having a phenomenal year, but also for the Phoenix Suns, DeAndre Ayton, the big man, is having himself quite a year. So Chris America for Rookie of the Year, Luka Doncic or DeAndre
Bless
Ayton?
you.
Who's your daddy?
Well, I think it's got to be the guy who replaced the guy. I mean, the Mavericks went out and drafted Luka Doncic. They already had a guy in DJ Smith Jr. Am I saying that right?
No, it's Dennis Smith Jr.
Dennis Smith Jr. I don't know. I've called him DJ twice. Maybe
It's
his
because
middle
we
name
were
is John.
comparing him to DJ Augustine. It's confusing. There's a
That
lot
is
of names you
confusing.
got to remember. When you're talking sports, there is a lot of names.
A lot of names. So Dennis Smith Jr. was doing great last year. The Mavericks draft Luka Doncic, and he's done good enough to say to the Mavericks, "Hey man, you don't need that other guy that you drafted last year. Go ahead and ship him on out." You don't see that often, man.
No, you don't see that very often. And the other debate that I've been seeing is that, according to All-Star voting, he's getting close to dethroning Kevin Durant as the starter on the All-Star team for the West. This is a true story. Now, I don't think it'll end up happening. I think Durant would be the starter, but this kid is making some waves, and part of that is he's had 3 or 4 just clutch game-winning three-pointers or game-winning shots and has carried his team to these huge wins. I think, hands down, I'm with you, Luka Doncic. He's both of our daddies. I'm moving it.
Yeah,
And-
I agree. We just got another tweet from Loudbeard's nemesis, Longer Beard, at Max Scout Team, just tweeted at us. Chris America and Kyle are rocking it. Chris America and Loudbeard are rocking it today. I wish I could be on, but I'm not as good as them. Go Gators, go Redskins.
All right.
Thank you, Max Scout Team, for tweeting that at us.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy. I'm just going to give you one last Who's Your Daddy, and we'll move on to something else because we went NBA all day. Now, Coach of the Year, Mike Malone of the Denver Nuggets. Nuggets are having a great year, sitting pretty in the West. Mike Budenholzer of the Milwaukee Bucks. Bucks are tearing it up in the East. Or Nate McMillan of the Indiana Pacers. Coach of the Year.
Who's your daddy?
Why not Mr. Clifford over here at the Orlando Magic? He's going to lead them into the playoffs.
Ooh.
He's going to get them in there, man. The first time in 7 years since the Dwight Mayer ended. I'm going Clifford.
Nice. That was a swerve
Because-
I did not see coming.
Yeah, because he doesn't have the superstars that these other guys have. Now the Denver Nuggets, maybe they don't have a superstar laden team. So between those two, I got to go with the Denver Nuggets guy. I can't remember what you said his name was, because in the NBA coaching
Mike
doesn't really matter.
Malone.
Mike Malone. There we go. That guy.
Yep. And then just one other side note of NBA stuff. Tony Parker returns to San Antonio, and they give him a heartfelt welcome. They do a pregame tribute. And I just wanted to say I'm giving a mid-show #Oprah Solid to the San Antonio Spurs for for treating Tony Parker right on his return to San Antonio. And then Tony Parker treating the Spurs right by giving them a big loss, 108-93, as his Hornets come in and get the victory in San Antonio.
Now, is Tony Parker still married to Evan Longoria?
The baseball player?
Yeah.
Oh, you mean Eva?
Oh, is that who it was? I thought it was Evan.
You're thinking of the baseball player for the Tampa Bay Rays. No, Eva Longoria.
Eva Longoria.
Yeah, the smoking hot from Desperate Housewives. I don't know if they're still married. I don't keep too close of tabs.
Well,
and
Loudbeard-
Hollyweird, I would say that everybody gets divorced, so probably
That's
not.
true.
But
That's
I could
true.
be wrong.
Well, Loudbeard, since we talked about a superstar from baseball, Evan Longoria, his star kind of faded about 8 years ago, I would say. Baseball's in a desperate need for superstars. Would that be a fair assessment?
100% agree with you, sir.
If there's anything wrong with baseball, it's the fact that I don't even know what it is. I don't know if we just don't accept baseball players as superstars, or if they just don't do a good enough job pushing their all-stars, their superstars to the forefronts of our minds and just doing a great job of, advertising them, shoving them in their face like the NBA does, like the NFL does, but they don't have any. Like, they have Aaron Judge, they have Mike Trout, they have your boy out there.
Bryce Harper.
But I would say Aaron Judge is probably the only recognizable, to just the average American, and I really only think that's because he's such a freakishly large man and has a unique face that's the only reason why people know what Aaron Judge looks like. Otherwise, if he looked like Bryce Harper or Mike Trout, I don't think anybody could pick him up out of the lineup, right? Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree.
Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, sometimes these guys with the distinct look, like Bryce Harper, he's got this hair swoosh that people are like, oh, look at that guy. He's like the typical, what would you say, dude bro that people like to like or hate. So maybe him. He's recognizable.
The hipster bro look.
Yeah, and that's what he's going for.
So Major League Baseball, I feel like, is kind of realizing this is a problem, and they're trying to fix it. Do you know how they're trying to fix it now, Loudbeard?
How's that?
They are sending actual MLB brass, not team brass, not owner brass. No, this is actually MLB executives. They sent them to one of the hottest names in all of sports right now, Kyler Murray's house, and they're looking for loopholes in their collective bargaining agreement so that they can throw more money at Kyler Murray to get him to play baseball. Do you like this move? Do you understand this move? What was your thoughts when you saw that not only were the A's going to Kyler Murray's house to negotiate him to come to baseball, but MLB themselves were going to his house?
I love this move. You know what that tells me? That the Major League Baseball isn't just going to roll over and let NFL dominate, right? Now, NFL does dominate. NFL's that number one sport. But Major League Baseball's wanting to be a bigger name. They're not wanting to slowly decrease sales and decrease revenue. They want to keep pushing. They want to move forward. They want big names. And they're saying, we don't want to lose out a potential superstar in Major League Baseball to the NFL. What can we do to help make this situation better? When you look at the situation, and for our listeners, Kyler Murray in June, before he was the Kyler Murray we know today, he was just another guy basically at that point, because we did not know the superstar, the Heisman Trophy Kyler Murray, was drafted by the Oakland Athletics. He was drafted 9th overall in the entire draft, 9th overall, and now he's a superstar in football, and so Major League Baseball's like, whoa, pump the brakes. He signed with us saying that as soon as football was over, he was committing to baseball, and now just because he has one of the best college football seasons ever as a quarterback, you're telling me that he's all of a sudden thinking about going to the NFL? Where's the truck that we can dump the money out of in front of his front lawn so that he can stay with Major League Baseball? He's already been given like a $4.5 million signing bonus or sign-on guaranteed money deal from Major League Baseball, and they're like, whoa, we're going to up this. We're going to give you more. Yeah, okay, our agreement says we won't, but we've got attorneys that are going to figure out a way that we can avoid that and give you more money. We want you in baseball, and I love it. I absolutely love it, Chris America.
Yeah, well, they swung for the fences, Ladbeard, and sometimes when you try to swing for the home run, what happens usually?
Well, in Aaron Judge's case, 50% of the time it's a strikeout.
Yep, you strike out, and Major League Baseball and the A's, they struck out yesterday. Kyler Murray said thanks, but no thanks, and he declared for the NFL draft. Now, I don't think that's the end of the Kyler Murray baseball story, but it's very interesting, and a lot of people reacted to it in selfish ways. They thought of only themselves. They didn't think about Kyler Murray, the person. And I think what that tells me is that Kyler Murray just loves playing quarterback more than he loves playing baseball. I think that's what it boils down to it. And we're always blaming athletes for being money hungry and just going after the money. And here we finally have an athlete who says, yeah, that $15 million is nice, but I don't love baseball as much as I love football, so I'm going to take my shot there, where I'm going to make considerably less in my NFL career. So now we have an athlete that doesn't chase money, chases his passion, and we just judge him for it. I think the overall message here, Loudbeard, is we're just hateful, spiteful fans now.
Yeah, maybe. I think that could be true. Now, when I look at Kyler Murray, on his decision, I can't fault him. I mean, being a superstar, like as a quarterback, your name will be much more in the headlights and headlines than you would ever be in Major League Baseball. Unless you're a guy like Derek Jeter that goes to the Yankees and is one of the most clutch players in history and wins championships and all that. Unless you're Derek Jeter, you're not going to be a household name. But household names are guys like Tom Brady and Drew Brees. If you could come in and be one of those guys, there are a lot more household name quarterbacks than there are Major League Baseball players at any position.
I mean, think about this. You mentioned the top players or quarterbacks. Look at Baker Mayfield. I mean,
everybody knows him.
He's a rookie. He's good, but he's not. I wouldn't put him as a top 10 quarterback just yet. And everybody knows who he is, where if I gave you a top 3 baseball player at any position, most people couldn't pick him up out of a lineup.
All of that is true, my friend.
So,
and that's why he's making his decision, and he is declared to that draft.
So now I think the commitment that MLB showed to Kyler Murray, I think they need to show to Trout. They need to show to Harper. They need to show to Aaron Judge, who, by the way, has no idea how much money he's going to make this year. He's just made over $1 million with the Yankees the last 3 or 4 years. Like, he's been getting paid chump money for what he's been given. And the Yankees can come out and be like, we'll up your pay to $1 million this year, and Aaron Judge has to take it. I think if they're going to sit there and take care of Kyler Murray, they need to take care of Aaron Judge and figure out a way to make sure that the Yankees pay him what he's worth.
Aaron Judge will get taken care of, though, at one point. That'll work itself out. I'm not so worried about Aaron Judge. I know he's not getting paid a lot now. When he gets his contract and he gets, even if it's $100 million, that's money that is life-changing. That's generational money right there.
Right,
He'll be okay. I'm not worried about him.
But he's still 3 years out of having any sort of control over what he makes.
Do you think he gets any endorsements in New York?
I'm sure he gets plenty of endorsements, but
the dude's going to get paid. I don't feel bad. I just don't.
No,
That's
I understand that, but I just don't like that the Yankees are making hundreds of millions of dollars off of him, and he's getting absolutely no share in that pie.
Yeah, but what about all the players that get overpaid and then underperform? It's not like the teams go back and cut their salaries, though they should. But
why
these
is
are
that
like
Aaron
guaranteed contracts in the Major League.
Why is that Aaron Judge's problem?
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
You know, I'm just saying. I don't necessarily think they need to give him a $300 million contract or anything like that, but they need to do more to do right by. If you're going to do this much for Kyler Murray, then you need to do more to do right by the other players in the league. Because if you look at the way that rookie contracts are set up in the MLB, I didn't know this until this story came out, man. It's not a good process. Like, you have to wait out 5 or 6 years before you can get actually good money in Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you got to earn it. I'm okay with earning it. I think that these young guys, they got to go out there and play hard and earn it. And when they earn it, they get that huge payoff. And that's what I like to see. So I'm for it.
You see it as sort of like a back pay when they get overpaid like that?
Maybe it is. Maybe it is.
All right. I
Man,
like
Chris
that.
America, this show went so fast today. There were
Yeah.
so many topics that I wanted to go over that we didn't get to, but the
We hung
good
out in
news
the
will
NBA
be
too
back
long.
tomorrow. We did go NBA too long, but maybe we were back paying the NBA for not
That's
going
true.
over it enough
That's
on previous shows.
Good point.
Um,
Well,
so
we'll have to
stories
back
going
pay
on
you.
that we can talk to about tomorrow. Antonio Brown, his story's heating up. We'll get into the details of that
Jerry
tomorrow.
Rice. Jerry Rice loves him.
Brandon Wimbush visits UCF, could be a graduate transfer. We'll get into that tomorrow. And all the other hot topics like Duke getting upset and not being that superstar team like Michigan and
No.
your favorite team.
Michigan's
So
number one team. I tried telling you guys.
you've been telling us that for weeks, sir, and I should have been listening. All right. Well, thank you all for listening in. Chris America, I enjoyed this show with you.
Yes.
Tell our listeners where they can find us and when to tune in tomorrow.
Tune in tomorrow where we'll be back paying you all of those topics. Plus, maybe we'll get the Golden Ghost back on here and he can tell us how much he loves the Gators. You can find us at 12ouncesportsradio.com, at Scout Team Radio on Twitter, or scoutteamradio.com if you want to listen to episodes that aren't live. On demand is where it's at, brother. It's 2019. It's what we do.
That's right. On demand.